Have you ever seen a prettier holiday cookie? This is the Hanukkah Shaker Cookie, and I'm going to teach you how to make it. Sally, that girl, in the kitchen. Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Sally, that girl, in the kitchen. Super excited to be in the kitchen today because I'm going to teach you how to make the cutest cookie. So we're going to be making shaker cookies. So what is a shaker cookie, you might ask? Well, a shaker cookie is actually a cookie that is comprised of 3 different cookies, and we're going to layer them together. We're going to create these beautiful window panes on the top cookie and the bottom cookie with enough center space with that 3rd cookie so that we can fill them with sprinkles, and then they're going to be clear when you lift them up. You can see right through them, and you can shake them to see those beautiful sprinkles that we're going to be adding to the center. Why do I call these Hanukkah shaker cookies? Because of course I'm going to be using a Star of David cookie cutter because I celebrate Hanukkah, but of course you could use whatever cookie cutter you want to celebrate whatever occasion you want, whatever holiday you're celebrating, because these cookies are so much fun. And the best part is you can make these cookies beforehand. You can make that delicious sugar cookie that keeps its shape, won't spread out, and you can fill them with the isomalt and then have them ready for the kids so that the kids can build the shakers themselves, and they are going to have so much fun doing it because the result is just really like a toy. I don't know whether to play with it or to eat it, but that delicious sugar cookie infused with butter and vanilla is absolutely divine. And of course, that isomalt dries hard, so it's like a hard candy. So that part you're probably going to want to suck as opposed to bite into because it does set hard. So I am super excited to teach you how to make it. So let's not wait another second and let's get started. For the cookie part of today's recipe, you will need 16 tablespoons, in other words 2 sticks, of salted butter, which should be chilled, 1 cup of sugar, 1 large egg, 2 teaspoons of vanilla paste or vanilla extract, 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and 3 cups of all-purpose flour. And for the window pane and the assembly part of today's recipe, you will need 4 cups, in other words 32 ounces, of isomalt, 1/2 cup, in other words 8 tablespoons, of water, a touch of vegetable oil, and some paper towel. And I'm using pre-made white cookie icing, but of course you could make your own royal icing instead if you prefer, and the sprinkles of your choice. You will also need a rolling pin, a long thin knife, a silicone or rubber spatula and spoon, a couple of large baking trays. I actually used 4, but aluminum cools down very quickly, so you could always reuse them, a cooling rack, a spatula, some oven mitts, some parchment paper, some paper towel, which I mentioned before in the ingredients. And I'm going to be using a stand mixer, but if you don't have one, you can use a handheld electric mixer instead with a large bowl. That will also work just fine. And you'll need some dry measuring cups, some measuring spoons, and you'll need a tablespoon and a teaspoon just from your regular everyday cutlery. And then you'll need 2 identical cookie cutters. So I'm using Jewish stars, so I'm going with a 4-inch and a 3-inch. But whatever shape you're going with, just make sure that one is 4 inches and the other one is 3 inches, because you want to cut one cookie and then right inside that cookie you're going to cut again before you bake. So it's important that the smaller one be an inch smaller than the bigger one. I prefer identical shapes, but you could cut out a circle or an oval or a square or whatever you want in the center instead. But I like to work with 2 identical cookie cutters. And as far as my stand mixer, I'm going to be using a paddle attachment, which I feel works really well with this particular dough. And finally, you will need a non-stick pot with a handle that is oven safe. So my pot is more on the small side because for this tutorial, I'm only going to be melting 1 cup of isomalt to teach you how to make these shakers. But if you want to be able to fill the window panes to make 12 shakers, which is what you will get out of this batch of dough that I'm going to teach you how to make, then you would need 4 cups of isomalt. So you would need a larger pot. So keep that in mind. So now that we have all of our ingredients and tools together, let's get started. So the first thing you're going to want to do is preheat your oven to 350 degrees, making sure you have a rack placed in the center. And then you need to cut your parchment paper. We're going to be using multiple sheets, and you want them all the size of your tray that you will be baking on. Then you want to cube your chilled butter. I like to cut it into small pieces, and then you want to just add that right into the bowl of your mixer. And then on top of that, you're going to add your 1 cup of sugar. So then what we're going to do is we're just going to give that a little bit of a stir, just kind of help coat those pieces of butter with the sugar. And then you're going to add your paddle attachment. And then we're going to cream our cold butter and sugar. So what I do is I start low because you don't want these little pieces flying around. But as those pieces start to incorporate, then you can increase the speed. The idea is to bring the speed up to high and then to whip these two together for 2 full minutes to get a nice fluffy mixture. That's all it's going to take, about a couple of minutes on high, and you should be good to go. So now I'm on high. It's going to take no more than 2 minutes or so, and you'll see this beautiful creamy mixture. There we go, nice and fluffy. This is absolutely perfect, and it's what we're looking for. So I don't know about you, but I love this stuff. I resist temptation to not just take my finger and have a bit, because that combination of butter and sugar is absolutely divine. So now you're going to turn off your mixer, and then you're going to use your silicone or rubber spatula to clean off the paddle attachment, because you don't want to leave any of that yummy goodness behind. And then you're just going to scrape down the bowl and just bring all of that butter and sugar mixture to the center of the bowl. Then you want to add 2 teaspoons of either vanilla paste or vanilla extract. I'm using the paste. And then 1 large egg. And then right on top of that, 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder. And since my butter is salted, just 1/4 teaspoon of salt. That's all we'll need because we already have salt in the butter. Then I want to put that paddle attachment right back on. And then I'm going to turn my mixer on again. But this time, I'm going to start quick because I want to just incorporate that egg and bring those ingredients together. But then as soon as I get that all together, then I'm going to reduce my speed to low, and I'm going to continue on low because now we're working with flour. So I've measured out my 3 cups of all-purpose flour, and what I like to do is I like to just pour that into a bowl. I didn't mention that in the tools we'll need in the beginning, but this is the way I like to do it. I measure out my 3 cups, and then I use just a regular tablespoon from my kitchen and gently add that flour in little by little because you don't want it flying everywhere. And that way you gently incorporate the flour. And notice this has been on low the whole time. By the time I got my flour in, I'm just going to let it go for a few more seconds, and then I'm done. I'm going to turn it off. You don't want to overmix it. And then once again, you're just going to use your spatula to remove anything that's stuck onto the paddle attachment, and then you can just remove that paddle attachment, and then we're going to work with our dough right in that bowl. So once again, just scrape down the sides of your bowl, and then you'll notice that you'll see a little bit of dry flour here and there, but that's okay because then you're going to clean off your utensil and you're going to go in with your hands, and you're gently going to just bring it together until it forms a dough ball. Then we're going to grab one of those parchment sheets that we cut to fit our tray, and on it you're just going to divide your dough in 2. So I'm going to grab another sheet. I'm going to leave one piece apart, and then I'm going to be working on half of the dough first. So what I like to do is just gently shape this into a disc using my hands, and then I grab yet another sheet of parchment. Remember, you always want the parchment to fit on your tray, and you're going to see why in a moment. Then you use your rolling pin to roll out your dough, and then you want to grab your cookie cutters. You will need 3 cookies for each shaker. So our goal is to get 36 cookies so that we can make 12 shakers. And 24 of those cookies will be filled with window panes, and 12 will not have window panes because the center one should be empty. So now we're cutting with our larger cookie cutter, as many as fit in this rolled out dough. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get the smaller cookie cutter. Now I moved on to the 3-inch, and I'm going to line it up as well as I can with the larger one, and I'm going to cut out another cookie in the center. But we're not going to be baking the center cookies. We're going to remove all of this excess dough, and then we're going to remove those stars from the center. All we're looking to make is an outline cookie. So even that center star is going to be combined with this extra dough to continue to roll out more cookies. You see, I use my long, thin knife, and then I put this with my pile to re-roll out. So these are what I started with, and I just add more and more onto the same parchment paper because we'll place this same parchment on our tray to bake. So if you need to move any of the stars, I recommend moving them before you cut out the center because they're difficult to move once they are nice and thin. So now I made 9, I placed them on the tray. I'm going to pop them in the oven to bake for 10 minutes. And while those are baking, I grabbed another piece of my parchment that's the size of my tray, and I'm going to repeat the same process. First the big cookie cutter, then the little. So my first batch is out, and they're smelling amazing. Don't underestimate how yummy these cookies are. They're super good. And then I'm going to let them sit for 5 minutes on the tray. Then after 5 minutes, using a spatula, I'm going to carefully remove them and place them onto a cooling rack. Be careful, be gentle, because when they're warm, they're still pretty fragile. And I'm telling you, just like this, these cookies are remarkable. So if you ever want to bake them alone, you can do that. So I made another 9, and then I'm going to pop those in once again, 10 minutes in the oven, just like before. Don't forget, after 10 minutes, you're going to bring them out, let them sit on the tray for 5 minutes before you touch them. 5 full minutes, then transfer them to a cooling rack. So now I've baked all of my cookies, and they're smelling amazing, and they look adorable, but the fun has just begun. So you want to separate your cookies. You want 24 on parchment because you're going to fill those, and then you want another 12 that you're not going to fill. So set those aside. I might have a couple of spares, but nobody's going to be angry about that. Those are our sample cookies, and with a little extra dough, I made a couple of little star cookies, to taste them. And besides the few extra samples, the idea is to get about 9 cut out stars on each tray when you go and bake them. That way you bake 4 different times, 4 trays of 9, and you'll end up with 36 cutouts to build 12 shakers. So when you're done baking all of your cookies, you want to lower your oven. You don't want to turn it off. And this time you're going to lower it, and you're going to set it to 265 degrees. And we're moving on to work on the isomalt. So now you're going to grab your pot. Remember, I'm only using 1 cup of isomalt. You see, it's like a very fine grain sugar. That's what it looks and feels like. And then you're going to add it into your pot, and you're just going to spread it out. You don't want to mix this once we turn on the heat. So you're going to turn your stove on to medium, and then you're just going to let this sit. I am only preparing 1 cup's worth because I'm going to make about 4 shakers to show you as a tutorial. But if you were making all 12 shakers, you need 4 cups. So it's going to take a little bit longer. For me, this took about 5 minutes or so to melt. You want it undisturbed. You're not going to mix it at all. And you're going to see how little by little, first at the ends, and then little by little, completely it dissolves and it starts to bubble. So once you get there, that is when you're going to want to turn your heat off. So I've turned my stove completely off. And now we're going to add our water. So this is tricky. You want to pre-measure this, and very gently and carefully, just a little by little, and then stepping quickly away, add your water and then start to stir because it will spit a bit. It's quite hot and it will burn. This is like making candy, so it's very dangerous. So you got to be very, very cautious as you add your room temperature water, and then just continue to stir until you get all of your water in. Do not throw all of the water in at once because that could be very, very dangerous. You just want to drizzle it in little by little while stirring. And now all my water's in, and that's it. I just want to take this off of the heat completely because it was on the stove where it was hot. So I'm moving it off the stove, even though the heat's been turned off, giving it a good stir. But you see how it has some bubbles in it? That's why we're going to place it in the oven. And we're just going to put it in there for about 6 minutes or so. And that's going to help reduce the amount of bubbles. So now, our trays are ready with our cookies, and as soon as our isomalt is hot, I used my oven mitt, brought it out, and then I just grabbed a tablespoon from my kitchen, and very quickly I'm going to pour the isomalt into the center of each of these window panes. So to make 12 shakers, you'd have to fill 24 window panes. You need 2 of these per shaker plus 1 cookie that is unfilled. Those are the ones we set aside. So with this 1 cup, I'm only going to be able to fill 6 of these stars, but if you were filling all 24 of the stars, then you would be using 4 cups of the isomalt so that you have enough to fill all of your cookies. So once they're set and they're dry, look at how absolutely gorgeous they look. But what we're going to do is we're going to get some oil, just a neutral oil. This is vegetable. And then a paper towel, and then just rub very gently the inside of that window, and it's going to be even more clear and sparkly and beautiful. So I'm going to show you. I'm assembling 1 shaker for you so you see how it works. So I polish both of the windows of my shaker, and then I'm going to bring over one of the cookies that does not have a window pane in it. And just like that, look how adorable they are. It's a cookie and a lollipop in one. Outside is a buttery vanilla yummy cookie, and then the inside is to lick or suck like a lollipop. So now, to assemble, you're going to need some really pretty sprinkles, and I'm using white cookie icing, and you're going to be using that like glue. You're going to grab one of the window pane cookies that you already polished, and then right around the edge on the cookie part with the cookie facing upside down, you're going to just go ahead and go all the way around with this white cookie icing. Is this not reminiscent of our days in elementary school? It almost looks like Elmer's glue. It's a perfect craft. Then grab another cookie without a window pane, and notice I also put that on upside down. So far I'm working upside down. And what I did was create a well in the center to house these beautiful sprinkles. These are silver and white and blue, and it has beautiful magenta beads and blue, beautiful little Jewish stars. So the top one, you want to put face up because of course you want the outer cookies facing up. And then once again, just use that white cookie icing to just draw a line, almost as if you're using glue. This will be our glue. And then you're going to put that top cookie on top. And how beautiful does that look? This is an adorable cookie. Like I said, it's a cookie and a lollipop all in one. You've got that hard candy in the center, and then you can shake them. You do have to let them sit for a while because you want that icing to dry before you start shaking them. But tell me this is not absolutely adorable. It's completely transparent all the way through. You have that wonderful, delicious cookie on the outside, and it's a toy and a cookie and a lollipop all in one. Look at how gorgeous it looks with the flash on. I turned the light on so you can appreciate just how pretty this looks. The camera doesn't even do it justice. And it's so much fun. I'm an adult and I'm having a blast. Imagine what the kids are going to think. They're adorable and they're absolutely delicious. And it's okay to play with your food. It's a win-win. And yes, they taste delicious too. I'm going to take a bite, just being careful with that inner window pane. So crazy good. I actually got just a little corner of the window pane. I used my molars. Yes, of course, I'm destroying the cookie, but it's all good. It's intended to eat, although it's so adorable, you're almost tempted to hold on to it. That delicious butter cookie on the outside with those vanilla specks running throughout, that icing, that candy center.
absolutely delicious.
So did I tell you these were going to be adorable or what? And not only are they adorable, they're delicious. They're super cute. I can't stop playing with them. And the best part is if you have a couple left over, these sugar cookies all by themselves are delicious. And you can actually use these to just make window pane cookies and serve them as is. You can add a little powdered food coloring or gel food coloring into the isomalt when you're melting it and create a beautiful colored window pane. You can make these for any occasion in any shape. They're super versatile and so absolutely delicious. And I'll give you another tip. If you want to make the same dough and make a window pane cookie, you have two options. You can either use the isomalt the way we did in this recipe, or you can even place these on some parchment and then undercook them a little bit, maybe halfway, 5 minutes instead of 10. Then mash up some hard candy, a clear hard candy, add it to the center and pop them back into the oven for another 5 minutes. And you'll create a gorgeous window pane cookie of whatever color you choose and whatever flavor, depending on the candy you used. That's our little secret. Anyway, I am super glad you joined me today, and I hope you really enjoyed today's recipe video. And of course, if you did, don't forget to give it a like, give it a share, write me a sweet little comment. That really, really makes me super happy. And when you like and share my videos, that really helps my channel grow. So thank you so much for doing that. And of course, if you're not already subscribed here on YouTube, stop what you're doing, go over, subscribe, touch that little notification bell so that you get notified every time I put out a new recipe video, which I'm doing all of the time. So you're not going to want to miss them. And go explore, go into my playlist tab. You're going to see different categories, so many different, not only cookies, I do breads, I do appetizers, main dishes, side dishes, desserts, I do Sephardic Turkish dishes, I do Jewish dishes, I do all kinds of international food, and I know you're going to love it all, so be sure to check that all out. And if you're not following me on social media, be sure to follow Sally That Girl in the Kitchen on Facebook, Instagram, and on Pinterest. And you can find me as Sally That Girl FL on X, Snapchat, and on TikTok. And of course, if you need any of my links, including my Amazon shop, where I feature a lot of the products that I use in today's video, then of course you can just head over to either the banner on my YouTube channel where everything is pinned, or I have a link tree pinned to the top of my Facebook and Instagram pages, and you can find all of the different links there to get straight back to YouTube or to visit my Amazon shop or any other place that I am on social media. You're going to find it all there. So once again, I just want to take a moment to thank you so much for watching. Enjoy whatever holiday you're celebrating, and I'll see you next time. So yeah, I just realized that apparently I'm rattling every time I move because I wore my super cute mixer. And apparently every time it hits my microphone, I rattle, kind of like my cookies. So I guess it was appropriate for today. Anyway, sorry about the noises. Sally That Girl in the Kitchen.